Today we're looking at exponential basic equations part 1. More specifically, we're just going to be doing the graphs for exponential equations. Now, the easiest way to go about doing this is we're going to just make a table so that we can fill in values. And for the most part, you guys can use these values for all your graphs. So let's do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. All right, remember we said from last class that anytime we have a negative exponent, means to reciprocate. Okay, so let's go ahead. You guys can do this on your calculators, I suppose, but it's probably just easier for us to do it by hand. So if we're looking at the -2 here, then we're going to do 2/5 to the -2. So the negative means we're going to reciprocate. We're going to flip the 2/5. It's going to become 5/2. And you guys can write this middle step, I guess, if it helps. So all we did was take the negative, reciprocate, then the 2 becomes positive. Now, 5 squared is 25. 2 squared is 4. So when x is -2, y is 25/4. Let's do the next one. Same thing, right? 2/5, this time to the -1st power. The negative means to reciprocate, so we'll do that. And then the first power just means that we got the same thing. So 5 to the first power is 5. 2 to the first power is 2. So when x is -1, our y is 5/2. I should have made this table a little bigger. It's kind of running out of room. Anytime x is 0, anything to the 0 power is going to be 1. 2/5 to the first power is itself. And then 2/5 to the second power, 2 times 2 is 4. 5 squared is 25. All right, so we have our 5 points. Now, the good thing about Alex is that when you do this, there's a button on there that has you plot the points. So all you have to do, I think it looks like this, right? There's parentheses. You hit that button and you just put in your points. So you do -2, 25/4, and it plots it for you. So it might look like -2, 25/4 is like 6.25. So let's say it's -2, 1. I didn't draw this very good. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.25. But you get the idea. The -1 is 5/2. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So 2.5 might be about there. Oops. Might be about there. 0 is 1. And then we plot all the points. It's getting a little bit smaller. 2/5. And then 4/25. And then there's this button that looks like this. And we need 5 points on there to plot it. So we have our 5 points plotted out. You just hit the button, and what it does is it magically graphs the line, and it should look like an exponential like this when you plot it out. If you didn't and the line jumps all over the place, then one of the points that you plotted might be wrong. All right, so just to recap, the first step is going to make a table. 2, we're going to use this button to plot the points. And then 3, you're going to use this graph button to graph it. All right, so same process in this next one. The only difference here, and the reason why I wanted to do this example, is that we have an initial value. Our initial value is a, the 1/2 in this one, right? In the last one, we didn't have anything in front of our multiplier. There was nothing here. This one does. It doesn't really change our process at all. We're still gonna do our table. We're still gonna go ahead and plot our points. We're still gonna use our button to graph the line. Okay, this time let's make our table a little bigger. -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. All right, so this is the only thing that's really different that you got to be careful about, is that we're going to do our exponent and our multiplier first, and then we're going to multiply by the initial amount. So if we're doing g of -2, right, we're going to take this thing first. The -2 means to reciprocate 2, so it's going to be, reciprocal is 1/2 to the second power. Those of us who are doing that extra step just to get rid of that that negative sign. The negative sign means to reciprocate. Now we're doing this still, right? Exponents before multiplication in order of operation. So 1/2 squared is going to give us 1/4. So 1/2 times 1/4 is 1/8. Let's do the same thing. G of -1. Okay, so those of us who are doing this middle step, that just means 1/2, right? The negative means that we're reciprocating to the first power. 1/2 to the first power is 1/2. So we have 1/2 times 1/2, which is 1/4. Okay, g of 0 should be pretty easy. So g of 0, 1/2, 2 to the 0. Well, this whole thing we know, right, is going to be 1, right? 2 to the 0 is 1. So we have 1/2 times 1, which is 1/2. Okay, and then we can kind of do the rest in our head. If for this one, x is 1, 2 to the 1 is 2. 1/2 times 2 is 1. And then same thing here, 2, if our exponent is 2, 2 squared is 4, half of 4 is 2. So we got all our 5 points. We go ahead and plot those out. -2, 1/8, that's pretty close to the line. -1, 1/4, that's a little higher. 0, 1/2, that's a little bit higher. 1, 1, that's a little bit higher. And then 2, 2, that's a little bit higher. And then if you plot it, you'll see that we have something that looks like this. All right, so all we're doing is doing our table. We're plotting our points using that point button in Alex, and then we're using that graphing button to connect the points and make an exponential function. Now do notice though that here our initial value is 1/2, and then that's reflected in our initial value in our equation. So one of the differences is that if we do have that number in front of our multiplier, that we're not going to start at 1 like we did in the first one, right? Our initial value here was 1. Our initial value here is 1/2 because that's our initial value from the equation. It's just something to be aware of. All right, that's it for today. Again, take your notes, write down any questions you have. We can talk about them next class. Good job today. I'll see you next time.